Method number 9, find the math, remove the context. This is something students will naturally do. You'll naturally do. It's to read the problem, make sense of it, pull out some mathematics, some numbers, something, and work there for a while, and then kind of forget about the problem itself. Now, the danger in this, of course, is when you get done, you think you have a solution. If you don't go back and reference what the actual question was, you might submit a solution that wasn't quite correct. So it is often best at the very end to go back into the context of the problem, meaning what the problem is about. Let's take a look at this one as an example. How many ways can 50 cents be made using any combination of pennies, nickels, or dimes? Now, that's pretty overwhelming. But I'm automatically thinking like, well, I might make a list. And what really matters here is that pennies, nickels, and dimes have different values that need to add up to 50 cents. So maybe I make something like, okay, I'm going to make a table here. And why? I don't know. That's just what my brain thought of. I might think of pennies. And I know that pennies are each worth 1 cent. And then I have nickels. And those are each worth 5 cents. And lastly, I have dimes. Those are each worth 10 cents. Now, the other thing that comes to my mind is I want the total to always be 50 cents. I want these coins to add up. Well, the first thing that comes into my head is like, it didn't say in the problem that I had to use some of each, or did it? Maybe I better go reread it. Let's see. How many ways can 50 cents be made using any combination of pennies, nickels, or dimes? Now, what happens here, this kind of problem is really fun with a class, and you can have some arguing going on, because one student might propose something like this. What if I had 50 pennies and no nickels and no dimes? Well, arguably, that's 50 cents, isn't it? Sure. But another student might say, I don't like that, because it says a combination of pennies, nickels, and dimes. And it kind of sounds like at least one exists of each. Of course, the other student may come back and say, well, 0 is a number. I can have 0 nickels and 0 dimes. Like, that's possible. And so that's kind of the joy of the problem, is that you can have a little controversy just in the problem itself. So it actually matters how you read the problem. You might be thinking, well, which one is it, Mr. C? Can you tell me which one? No, I don't want to tell you which one. And the reason is with a good problem solving, as long as you explain what you're believing and you have your solution, it can be just fine. So when I'm making this video, I'm just going to believe that 0 is okay. Now, if you do this problem yourself and you think it's not okay, then you can just take out all of my solutions that have a 0 in those slots. But once I get the hang of it, I'm like, oh, well, what I really need to do is just add up these numbers to make 50 cents. And I might notice that if I put other numbers in, like, well, what if I do have a nickel? What if I have 1 nickel? Then what happens? When I put a 1 there, I have to remember that that 1 really represents 5 cents. And so maybe I need to bring a little more annotation into this. So let's see. I'll try that. Let's put 50 pennies equals 50 cents. Okay, and then now let's try it. So 1 nickel will equal 5 cents, right? Because each nickel is 5 cents. But I could have, well, let's see, I could have 45 cents of pennies, and that would be 45 pennies. And then I would need 0 of those, and that's 50 cents as well. So there's a second solution. So I'm messing around, I'm playing around, but I'm also kind of working systematically. What if I had 2 nickels? If I had 2 nickels, that would be 10 cents. I could still have all pennies besides that, which would leave me with another 40 cents. Right? That would be 40 pennies and 0 dimes. That would give me 50 cents again. I might also notice that I could work with 40 pennies, right? Which is 40 cents, but have no nickels and 1 dime, and a dime is worth 10 cents. That would also take me to 50 cents. So at some point, I'm probably going to have to decide, how am I kind of going about this? What is my system? Because I feel right now that there's a lot of possible ways to do this. And I probably want something I can anchor to, whether it is looking at the pennies, the nickels, or the dimes. So for me, maybe I anchor my thinking on the first column, and it doesn't have to be, I'm just thinking like pennies. Well, I can do 50 pennies. Can I do 49? No, you can't do 49 because that won't work. You can't make up 49 cents with nickels and dimes. 48, 47, 46 won't work either. 45 though does work. So if I go back to the 50, if I use 50 pennies, that's all my money. There's only one way there. If I do 45 pennies, that's possible because I can use one nickel. Is there another way to use 45 pennies? No. Okay. How about 40 pennies? Well, that leaves 10 cents with the other things. I could either have 2 nickels or I can have 1 dime. Is there another option? No, there's not another option. You can't have 1 nickel and 1 dime and 40 pennies. So I'm feeling like this system might work for me. I can continue working through the problem. Like, could I have anywhere between, I couldn't have 39 or 38 or 37 or 36, but I could have 35 pennies, right? That's possible because that's 35 cents. How many different ways could I do that with nickels and dimes? Well, let's see. One way is I could have 1 nickel, that's 5 cents. That brings me to 40 cents, and 1 dime. And that would be another 10 cents. And that would add up to 50 cents. I'm kind of thinking like maybe I don't even need this last column as long as I know it adds up to 50, but it's nice to know that it's there. Is there another way to make 15 cents besides 1 nickel and 1 dime? Well, sure there is. And that might require you to think about it just a little bit, but I can also get 3 nickels to make 15 cents itself, right? And no dimes. And that gives me 50 cents. And so I have 2 ways there. And I can just continue tracking this problem, down. And I'm noticing that if I'm keeping track in accordance with the pennies, I'm going to have a possible of 25 pennies. Oops, I skipped one. I'll go back. I could have 30 pennies. I could have 25 pennies and 20 and 15 and denominations of 5 all the way down to 0. And each time I list those out, I can then look for all the combinations with nickels and dimes to go with those. When I get done, I'll feel like I have all of them because I've anchored my thinking on what if the pennies were this, right? Then I have all the possibilities listed. If you'd like to finish this problem and, submit your solution to a friend in this class or even to me just for fun, you're welcome to do so. And it's not an assignment, but it certainly is an interesting problem. If you really like this problem, you could give this problem to a future class that you might teach as well.